you all and doing this beautiful work to make the world a better place. We give you energy. Jacqueline, ready? Jacqueline. We're making that energy and we're sending it out there.
Amen. We are.
Man,
yeah. Thank you all.
Good morning.
Good morning. So
Good morning, everyone.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Are we out now?
We are.
Okay.
We're out in the world.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Whoa. And we're coming to you live. And look who I'm with. Wow. You know, the divine feminine, big time, huh? So you can see all these.
And Ross. Ross, you're in the divine feminine.
Well, you know, you need a couple of token males here. Ross and I put our hand up. So Ross and Neale is going to be with us here too, as you'll see. So, hey, we wanted to just come out, welcome you all, invite you in the chat, share your name and where you're coming in from. It's kind of fun. As we do that and go around the call, you'll see this is very much of a global audience. And just invite you to relax and kick back. Boy, we have important messages. I mean, I'm just going to share here that we're going to be reviewing with you. So thank you for being here for the next 90 minutes. Just a really important call. So, and so my partners here, Suzanne and Debra and SIMRAN and Jacqueline and Dr. Rowshanak, Ross, where are you guys coming in from?
I'm coming from Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Canada for me, Vancouver, Canada.
Charleston, South Carolina.
And I am currently in Marin County, California.
And I am in Dordogne, France.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Yeah, bonsoir.
Sunny Boulder, Colorado.
All right. Yeah. So, and I'm in Boulder, Colorado. And wow, we're, you know, again, just super excited to be here. We're going to start here in just about 30 seconds. And this is our big initiative that we announced a year and a half ago. So with Neale Donald Walsch, Conversations with God Foundation, as you can see, it's grown. You know, we've got all these partners. We're all faces of this initiative, and which is why we're here. We're all going to put our own heart language around what we're doing here and the importance, which is major. I'll just share, you know, just really, I believe nothing more important on the whole planet right now. Okay, and with that, let's start here. And I am Steve Farrell. I'm a co-founder of Humanity's Team, and I'm your host here for today's program, and I want to welcome you all. And I want to invite you all to stay to the end because there are all of these really incredible presentations that we're going to be going through, including some testimonies from some of our country coordinators around the world. So this is a 90-minute program, and please do stay to the end. This, of course, involves our Changing Humanity's Future initiative. We announced it a year and a half ago with Neale Donald Walsch and the Conversations with God Foundation. But it's grown into this massive thing. And you can see these are many of them luminaries, all of them important leaders in this whole transformational education space. And so many others that aren't here, that really, this is our message, this whole Changing Humanity's Future message. It's our message. And the message is about how we create this journey to a sustainable and flourishing earth, that we really do that. We're going to talk about how we do that. In fact, how we've already done a lot of it. We're going to bring all of that in here during this presentation. Now, I wrote an essay recently called The Galileo Moment, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it because it actually brings in really what this initiative is and why it's so incredibly important. Okay, and Galileo, as you may know, in the early 1600s, this guy in Italy with a telescope that made observations of the universe. And in the observations of the universe, he said, oh my God, you know, ultimate reality then, which was to say everything published and everything said on the planet there in the early 1600s, was that the Earth was the center of the universe. And so sacred text and intellectuals and the whole of the Earth, this was the understanding. As well, they had a Roman Inquisition and Spanish Inquisition at this time to go after what they called heresy. So boy, if anybody was going to surface that was going to go against these important understandings that the Earth was the center of the universe, you better watch out, because people will remember these Inquisitions, people burned at the stake and all of this. So Galileo got himself in a whole bunch of trouble. and they put him under house arrest. And they said, we're now going to take your life. You were going to go unless you renounce this work that you've brought to the world, this research. So he renounced. He wanted to save his life. He didn't. They put the house arrest around him, and they didn't take that off of him. So to the day he died, he was under house arrest. Now, even though he renounced, people with telescopes observed the same thing and said it's true. He shouldn't have renounced that research. We are actually, the Earth is in a solar system revolving around the sun. It's a small part of the universe, actually not even the center of the universe. We are not the center of the universe at all. And so the world changed. And so, in a sense, one man carried the burden for all of us. It was something that needed to emerge of what is ultimate reality. How does the solar system work? Somebody needed to bring that message forward. Okay, now, the reason we're making a big deal out of this is because of today. Because today, there is a much more menacing, I'll call it false reality that we're exposing with our work. It's this menacing false reality that we're separate from each other. And that not that we have a body, but that we are our body. That we are our body. And that we're separate from each other. We're separate from all of us here, from God, from the earth, from the cosmos. And that we have a single life to live. Right? Almost all of us here, we went through school, and the narrative from our parents, the cultural story was this. This is what we grew up with, right? So now it's entirely understandable why you would have so many billionaires and centimillionaires on the planet today, right? Because if we think, well, I'm separate from everybody and the God of my understanding and the earth, I don't have any connection to the earth. And I have one life to live. What the heck? Why not go for it? Why not go for it? Fame and fortune and power, and just keep minting money to the end of the earth, which is what so many billionaires are doing, right? And why so many young people on social media, TikTok and stuff. It's just this climbing to the top of the American dream ladder, fame and fortune and power, right? So this is why this is such an incredibly menacing narrative, false reality. Is because when this is our understanding, when we grow up this way, of course you're going to have the earth that we have today, where people are fatigued, disempowered, because most people never get to those top rungs. And then my story from Silicon Valley, where I actually lived with many of those people that did get to those top rungs, and they're just as exhausted. Their relationships are horrible in most cases because they're minting money all the time. That's where their focus is. And so it's incredibly important now that in a sense we all become the Galileo, that we expose this false reality, not just with words of, go out and proselytize, we're all one and it's a spiritual universe and all of this, but to live into this, live our lives this way, which I know you're here. And these leaders that are here with me, this is exactly what they're doing, is we're living into this. We're living into this reality, but it's a spiritual universe, that it's not just in metaphor that we're one. And if we don't want to believe that now, you just wait till you go back to the non-physical realm, talk to Suzanne, who's here with us. Just wait till you go back to the non-physical realm. That's all it is. It's pure light and pure love. It's the only container we know, right? And in the revolving door of life, where we're going from non-physical to physical, what we come to understand is this is the thing, right? That's why we're here on what we call the conscious journey, where we understand, my God, I'm here actually to embody and express what I know, to remember what I know, to embody this oneness, this non-dual universe, this universe that's in harmony, this perfect love and light. And and we're all going to do that in different ways, right? In our daily practice, we're guided to what that might be. And sometimes it's actually just supporting a young child or an elder person. Other times it's this kind of work where it's the whole world that we're working in, creating this awakening, starting a fire of new understanding, a fire of burning down false reality, a fire that says, we've got to stop this thing, this causal factor, this first domino that's creating this massive challenge in the world, disease, illness, all of the things that we know that we see out in the collective and that many individuals are experiencing. Okay, so many of us are again doing this now. This is a remedy. We're actually seeing it and feeling into it. We're living our lives aligned with this. But many people will ask us, how is this going to spread if we're lighting this fire that's going to cause the whole earth to awaken, so to speak? How's that going to work? Humanities team, we're saying, make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040. Okay. Almost everybody here's probably heard of or read the book Power versus Force by David Hawkins. Please dust off that book and go read it again. Because remember, this is the researcher, he died a little over 10 years ago or transitioned, that brought forward the whole range of consciousness. 1, we're dead, not alive. 1,000 is the highest level of enlightenment. And then he's got all of the range of where we are. Below 200 is where we're not awake, walking around in this whole false reality, illusion of separation. So what his research shares, and it's all in the book, is that one person at a level of 300 on the 1,000 scale offsets 90,000 people who are asleep, who aren't conscious. And then one person at 700 on the scale, not even at 1,000, offsets 70 million that are not conscious, that are asleep. Okay, so you can see how this whole 8 to 10% thing works, where we're on that level, there's this awakening, this resonance of being awake, of waking people up, of a spiritual universe, of living as who we really are. And if you've ever been around the Dalai Lama or Thich Nhat Hanh when he would travel, you experience that, right? You'd sit in the audience and you go, oh my God, you'd feel this light sort of wash over you, right? So we've experienced it even here with many of these leaders that I'm with. Watch them speak. Watch how you resonate. Your vibration comes up as they speak. So we can do this. We are doing this. The last Conversations with God book says that we're actually the hardest part of this journey is behind us. But let me back up to today, because I don't want to just run amok with this message of hope without creating some balance here. Because as we know, I just finished with my family watching this movie series called Our Planet on Netflix. It's one of the highest rated, I think top 5 highest rated programs on Netflix. A lot of people are watching it. It talks about the evolution of the earth through all of these ages and to today. And it ends with, we're headed right now for the 6th mass extinction. We're people, we're mammals that can change our mind. So there's real good news. But we keep doing what we're doing, keep going in this direction where we're not sustainably using land and water and energy sources and climate change and these things, then that's what we're headed toward. And as we know, there are even movements, the volunteer human extinction movement, that are saying, oh, this is the Titanic and we've hit the iceberg and we're going down. I will tell you, we are not here sharing that message. Okay. We are actually the anecdote to that. Because what we're sharing is, no, we've actually come a long, long way. They're in the 20 years that Humanities team has been around. Oh my God. We talked about awakening oneness back in the day, and today it's just night and day. And largely because of the leaders here that are speaking with me and others like them all over the world that have made this their work. So we've come a long, long way, and we can get there, and we will get there, and we'll get there by 2040. But make no mistake, the only way we get there is this is why you were called to be here. Why something tapped you on the shoulder and said, tune in to this program today. Don't miss this program, because you're actually one of the important people in this. when we talk about making conscious living pervasive worldwide. We really need you to come in and support this initiative, to understand it, to live into it, to be an ambassador of it, to be a walking, talking model of it. That's what we're inviting you to. I'm going to give you 3 other calls to action here. 1, go to changinghumanitiesfuture.com or .org, join the initiative if you haven't already. 2, there's a new masterclass Neale Donald Walsch and I just created. It's called The Art and Science of Conscious Living. We've done something we've never done before, 20 years. If you go look at that page and you see all of what's in it, and you say you'd like to go through and you say, oh, but I only have $50 or $20, or I don't have any money. I'm broke right now. You can go through, because we allow you to name your own price on this masterclass, because we want the whole of the planet to go through this program, because it really brings all of this together in such a beautiful way. And the third one is donation. Donate to this if you resonate. I know all of you here, this perhaps isn't your why. Maybe it's other things. Some of you here, I think, really get that there's one thing that actually can change everything. It's just simply awakening to who we are, not this Einstein thing where he said over 100 years ago, the greatest illusion in the world is the illusion of separation. And no problem can be solved at the level of consciousness that created it. So we've got to go up, got to elevate consciousness. You're looking at the group, the Go Up group right here. That's who we are for 20 years, Humanities Team. This is why we were founded. Got to elevate consciousness, awaken to who we really are, live into that, and then we create the remedy, because we couldn't possibly do the things that are being done in homes and in communities and around the world when we're awake, when we're really expressions of divinity, of the Most High, of God, of the universe. So with that, I want to introduce my partners here, and they're going to be speaking next. So next is Neale Donald Walsch. He's a spiritual messenger whose words have touched millions. Neale's insights into the nature of reality and human spirituality are always enlightening. Neale is a co-founder of Humanities Team. Then Suzanne Giesemann, an acclaimed medium and spiritual teacher. Suzanne brings a profound depth of understanding about the interconnectedness of all beings. Debra Poneman, and as an expert in manifesting success and happiness, Debra's guidance is invaluable for those seeking to live a consciously fulfilling life. Ross Hofstetter, known for his wisdom and conscious leadership, Ross's perspectives are sure to inspire and guide you in your own leadership journey. And Jacqueline Way, founder of 365 Give. Jacqueline's approach to changing the world through small acts of giving daily is a beautiful example of conscious living in action. Dr. Rowshanak, a renowned expert in the field of cognitive neuroscience, she brings a scientific understanding to the art of conscious living. SIMRAN, a spiritual guide and artist, SIMRAN's teachings on love, humanity, and the divine are deeply transformative. I'm really grateful to have these leaders and these partners here with me, and we're going to go right to Neale Donald Walsch now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Neale, and I'm happy to be here with you in this moment to share with you what I think is the most important topic we could talk about, the biggest, most critical subject we could discuss on this day in humanity's history. There's a lot going on these days, isn't there? I mean, one thing after another. Who could have imagined these kinds of things would occur on a planet that's filled with a species that is reasonably evolved? Or are we? Are we as evolved as we could be or should be? So what do you think is the most important topic we could discuss today? Anybody have a guess? Changing humanity's future. Might sound like an obvious thing to say, that our most important thing that we could be focusing on right now is changing our future. But the real question is, how is that done? And my answer is, from my understanding in my conversations with God, It's done by paying attention to and speeding up our evolutionary process, by us deciding who we are and then putting into action that decision of who we are and what is our relationship to each other and to everything on the planet. So we're discussing here evolution of the self and of the species. The dictionary defines evolution as the process by which living organisms develop and diversify, especially from simple to complex forms. And when we're talking about those living organisms, we have to define what we're talking about. What are these human beings that we call living organisms? Yes. Big important questions. We have a decision to make. We have to decide. We have to decide who we are. It's the biggest decision we could make in our lives. Who are we? Why are we here? And what is the point of all of this? And how does the work of the collective species affect or impact those decisions? So here's the choice we have in front of us. It's a two-part choice. We can decide that who we are. I can individually decide who I am. I'm a chemical creature. I'm the outcome of a biological process engaged in by two previous chemical creatures that we call, mom and dad. Or I can conceive of myself as a spiritual creature. Ah, what an interesting idea. Could it be that I'm actually a spiritual entity currently inhabiting a body? If we see ourselves, if all of us see ourselves as chemical creatures, we would see ourselves as having no more connection to the larger process of life, to all that's going on around us, than any other chemical or biological life form. Like all the others, we'd be impacted by life, but we could have very little impact on life. We couldn't create events. We couldn't stop events from occurring. We couldn't create our future except in the most remote, maybe indirect way. We could create more life. All chemical creatures carry the biological capacity to recreate more of themselves, but we would have a very limited ability to create how life is showing up in any given moment. And that's the most important thing we could talk about today. That's why I want to spend this time with you, to talk about how we can create what's showing up in life, collectively, for all of us. Now, as a chemical creature, if you thought of yourself as just simply that, you would see yourself as having a limited ability to constantly create a uniformed, controlled, intentional response to the events and conditions of our life. I mean, you'd see yourself basically as a creature of habit, instinct, with only the resources that your biology brings you. You might see yourself, for instance, as having more resources than let's say a turtle, because your biology has gifted you with more, one presumes. You would see yourself as having more resources than a butterfly because your biology has gifted you with more, yet that is about all you would see yourself as having. I mean, in terms of resources, you would see yourself as having to deal with life as it's going on the planet day to day, pretty much as it comes along, with maybe a tiny bit of what seems like control in your own individual day-to-day experience based on advanced planning, but not much more, and virtually no impact or control over larger global events. On the other hand, however, if you conceive of yourself not as a chemical creature, but as a spiritual being, you would then see yourself as having powers and abilities far beyond those of a simple biological life form, powers that transcend basic physicality and its laws. You would understand that these powers and abilities give you collaborative control over the exterior elements of your individual and collective life. Also, as a spiritual being, you would know that you are here, on the earth, for a spiritual reason, and that it would not be unimportant for you to be clear about what that reason is. In fact, it would be the most significant, meaningful aspect of your life. Let me propose here to you that the spiritual reason you are on the earth is for a highly focused purpose that has nothing to do with your occupation, your career, your income, your possessions, your personal achievements or place in society, or any of the exterior conditions of your personal life. If you are conceiving yourself as a chemical creature and not as a spiritual being, you would know that your purpose has to do with your life the way it's showing up. But if you're a spiritual creature, suddenly you have a different point of view about everything. And you see yourself as who you really are, part of a larger, I almost want to use the word team, a larger community, a larger collective of entities, billions of spiritual entities working together, hopefully, living together, acting together as a community, as a group, to change humanity's future. Because that's why you came here. That's part of your agenda. Because in changing humanity's future, you change your experience of who you really are. And that's what your purpose was in coming here to this planet, to change your future, to change your experience of who you really are. This is not a small item. It's the reason that you exist, in my opinion. That's what I was told in my conversations with God. That we came here to experience our true identity as individuations of divinity, but not simply as individual expressions of divinity, but as a member of a collective expression of divinity. Because it's when, as all masters have told us, not just one, but all masters have told us, wherever two or more are gathered, now we have the ability to decide who we really are, who we want to be, how we want our life to be experienced, and how we can move forward, and what we can give to our children and our grandchildren as their inheritance, what we've left for them, what we've bequeathed to them. And right now, what we're bequeathing is not the greatest idea I've ever had about life on Earth, but it can be if we choose to work together, if we choose to see ourselves as one, to stop seeing ourselves as separate from each other, to see ourselves as individuations of divinity, but as individuations in the sense that your fingers are individuations, but all connected to the same hand. See, they look different, they function different, they act differently, but they're all part of the same hand. We are fingers, dare I be poetic enough to say, fingers on the hands of God. So let's team up together. Let's bring our hands together and become part of humanity's team and its global effort to change humanity's future. When you decide that your answer to that question is yes, that's who I am. I'm not simply a chemical creature. I'm evolving into the largest and grandest expression of who I choose to be. And I look around me for resources, and one of the greatest resources I could have found is the Changing Humanity's Future campaign put before all of us by humanity's team. Join me in that process, will you? Because tomorrow depends on it. Our children and our grandchildren are depending on us. And our soul is inviting us to the greatest adventure we could possibly have imagined. Thanks for listening. I appreciate your decision. I know your answer is going to be, yes, I'm in.
All right. I want to thank Neale. That was beautiful. Always very powerful. And speaking of very powerful, look who I'm with here on screen, Suzanne Giesemann. Suzanne, thank you so much for being here. And here we go. Get ready. Thank you. On to Suzanne.
Okay, there we go. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Steve, and everybody for joining us today. I want to just say hello, beautiful souls. I wish that you could come to see yourself as the soul. I didn't even know we were souls years ago when I was in a Navy uniform. I really thought we were all separate. I'm laughing at that Neale used the same analogy I used last night, speaking to a group of bereaved parents about the fingers and the hands. I actually, in the middle of the program, drew little smiley faces on my finger and showed us like these separate beings. And then but I took the analogy a little further. I said, we're really wearing these little finger puppet costumes, and that's the body. And what happens when we die is we simply lose the costume, but the energetic body remains, and it's totally connected. So that's just one metaphor for the oneness. But it took a wake-up call for me to start down the path of understanding what the true reality is, the reality that at the deepest level, we're all connected. That wake-up call was the death of my stepdaughter, whose birthday we celebrated just yesterday. She's been in the spirit world quite a while, but it's long enough to have led me to connect personally with her, and as a result of that, to connect with higher beings at multiple levels. So I can assure you that oneness is a very real concept. It's our very essence. And what I love to do in my teaching is actually share stories of our connection with the non-physical world, like the one I shared last night for this group of parents who we no longer call bereaved parents. We call them shining light parents, because as each of us comes to realize that we are connected by the light of consciousness, our inner light turns up and we become a light unto others, which is what you have a chance to do just by participating in programs like this. So one of the stories I shared with them last night was about a little boy who came through in a reading I did for his mom. His name was Dylan. His nickname was Dills, D-Y-L-S. When I sat with his mom, the very first thing that he did was show me how he used to love to play soccer. She was in England, so I had to change it and say football, which is what they say for soccer in England. And she laughed and she said, I've had readings before and I always like evidence. And I know you give evidence, Suzanne, but I said, Dills, if this is really you coming through today, I want you to talk about football. And it was the very first thing that he showed me. And then he went, goal, because this is not just data and information. These are active, interactive conversations with live beings, souls. And she laughed. She said, I was just watching our favorite team and they just scored a goal and I was celebrating. And then he said, Mom, I hear you singing our song. And usually I can hear lyrics and song titles and I actually know what the song is, but I could tell by the way he said that he and his mom had a special song that I could never guess. And she said, not only did we have a favorite song, they just sang it at that goal in the football game. The song was something she personalized. It was a little ditty that was something like, I love you, Dylan, yes, I do. And they had just sung, I love you, Tristan, or whoever the soccer player was that won the goal. So we were absolutely celebrating what I want you to know, that death is not the end, because we are, call it what you want, souls, light beings, expressions of one source. You and I and everybody in existence is the expression of this light of consciousness. Call it God, source, the life force. You are the arms and legs and voice of this force, which is why we need to take care of each other. Let me share another magical moment with Dylan. This woman came to my class in London last month, and she was very worried about being late for class because she had to catch a train. She was relieved when she got on board the train, and 15 minutes later, it pulled into an intermediary station and sat there and sat there. Finally, a voice came on and said, everybody, this train is broken down. You have to get off and get on the train across the platform. She's worried about getting to class on time, so she files off, gets into a random car, sits down in the first available seat. The train takes off. She looks out the window, and someone had carved in the glass on her seat the letters DYLS. Her son. This is what I call an NOE, a no other explanation moment. No other explanation than that we are part of one big web connecting all that is. Living consciously brings awe into your life, and we as source and expression love being awed. So start to see the awesomeness in your life, and that will actually turn up your light. Other ways that you can live consciously are what I call the 3 E's of living the awakened way. The first one starts with educating yourself, and that's what you're doing listening to this program. But join Humanities Team Initiative. Listen to the master's class that Neale and Steve have put together. This is one way to educate yourself about what oneness really is, so that you start living consciously and understand the oneness and can help others around you realize we're not separate. Individually, we make a huge difference in this world. The second E of these 3 E's is to experience the greater reality for yourself through practices that you learn through the classes on Humanities Team. Sit in the silence every day. Use my sip of the divine 3 minutes a day just to shut out the outer world and come to know the inner world that we all share in that state that never changes. And the third E is engage higher consciousness regularly. I think I have enough time to share one more fun story with you. And that is that I love one great way of engaging higher consciousness is asking for signs to show you that this greater reality is real. I had just interviewed a woman for my Messages of Hope podcast, Lorna Byrne. You might have heard of her. She has written a lot of books about angels. Now, this Navy officer here didn't used to believe in angels, but I can guarantee you now angels are real. But Lorna told me something that just cracked me up in that podcast. She has a term. She said, there are more unemployed angels than people understand. And if we would only know to ask and call on them, we would be getting much more divine help. I love that term, unemployed angels. So when the recording was over, that one's going to air later in this month, so you haven't missed it yet. I sat down and I shifted to soul awareness, which you can do anytime when you live consciously. And I said, okay, if this is really true, that there are legions of unemployed angels just waiting to help us, what sign are you angels going to send me? You see how we can be playful. And immediately I heard the word eureka. Now, I can tell you, I haven't seen or heard the word eureka in at least a year. It's just not something that comes up normally. So I kind of put it out of my mind. That's how you work with your signs. Don't go actively looking for them, because the greater reality will give it to you in the most wondrous ways. The next day, a FedEx package arrived for my husband and me. It was a sculpture of an infinity sign that we bought when we were traveling, and it arrived and I was so excited. We unpacked this sculpture, and in it, the sculptor had put a magazine with an article about his work, and he bookmarked it with one of his brochures. So I opened the magazine immediately to his article. His article with this infinity sign was titled Eureka. I mean, 4-inch high letters. You just can't explain that. That's an NOE moment. Then that there are higher beings who knew that package is arriving the next day, who knew I was going to turn right to that article. You see, this is how your life runs. When you live consciously, you start to see the connections. How do you use this in your life to make your life better? Well, now that I know that there are all these unemployed angels around, the next day, my husband and I were heading to a dinner party, and we were going to be with a couple in which the woman tends to complain a lot, and it gets so uncomfortable that I just want to leave. But I wanted to have a good time. So I said, I mean, this is a repeated thing. This happens all the time with these certain people. So I shifted and I said, angels, I would like your help to guide that woman to see things more positively today so that all of us can enjoy a positive evening. I said it out loud so my husband, a retired destroyer captain, would hear. Well, you should have heard the discussion on the way home in the car. He said, boy, the angels really helped, didn't they? Because the whole evening, the normal topics that woman talked about never came up. We are always being guided by our loved ones across the veil, by angels, by source. Why? Because we are this source. So let's harness it. Let's come to live consciously, come to know who we are, educate yourself, experience it for yourself, and engage higher consciousness. And just this call to action that all of us are going to give you is become part of this Changing Humanity's Future initiative. Absolutely. Listen to that masterclass with Neale and Steve. And sure, dig in your pocket, because once you understand oneness, abundance is a normal part of life. Thank you all for joining us here. Look forward to hearing what everybody else has to share today.
Okay, Suzanne, wow, that was beautiful, as it always is. Yeah, so much wisdom there, spiritual wisdom. Thank you for bringing all of that in. And isn't it wonderful to know angels and guides always here? Let's use them. Let's use them. Okay, Suzanne, thank you.
You're
and
welcome.
Debra Poneman, the beautiful and powerful Debra Poneman. Debra, welcome.
Thank you so much. It is always an honor to be here with you and Neale and Suzanne. I could listen to you forever. And I love Lorna Byrne, and I always call them the unemployed angels. And also, it's an honor to be here with the other speakers and all of you from joining us around the world. I see people from all over. It's just been fascinating. I mean, Pavel and Jacek from the UK, and Heil from Estonia, and Veda from India, and Carlos from Mexico City, and Sandra from Scotland, and Diana from Switzerland. This is just crazy. Jean from South Africa, several people from France, bonsoir. And Tina, who said that she wrote the word eureka while she was journaling this morning. That was so precious. What a joy for all of us to be together as one family, to hear about and to honor the glorious vision of Humanity's team to make conscious living pervasive around the world by 2040, and our time on Earth ever more meaningful. As Neale said, he said it very nicely, there is a lot going on our planet these days. And many people feel that the challenges are insurmountable, but, are they really? We think not. The reality is there are solutions. And I just want to say that the first time I was invited to be part of a Humanities team event was probably, I don't know, maybe 10, 11 years ago. It was quite a while ago. And I was invited to be a panelist for an event called Global Oneness Day. Put in the chat if you love Global Oneness Day, which has actually now become it became Global Oneness 2 days and 3 days and Global Oneness Week. It is so life-changing. And I discovered the first time I was asked that there is this group called Yes, Yes, Yes. Everybody's saying love Global Oneness Day. I discovered that the group that was inviting me was called Humanities Team. And then I was even more excited and curious about who these people were. Because what is a team? A team is a group of people who come together with a common purpose. And here was a team formed not to win a game for their team of 5 people or their tournament of 10 people or their World Series team of 20 people, but to win on behalf of humanity. It was Humanity's team. And when this team wins, everyone wins, because it's about raising the vibration of the entire planet. The mission of Humanity's team isn't about changing the future for some, but if Humanity's team wins, it would change the future for everyone on the planet. So I became an active team member, first by being a speaker, then a host during Global Oneness Day, which was then Global Oneness Week. And then I created a masterclass with the incredible Christy Whitman called A New Kind of Power for Humanity's Stream. And then I became part of the Humanities Team Advisory Board. And you know what? That vision that I saw this team had over a decade ago just continues to get stronger and the commitment greater. And I'm truly happy to be on a team that's taking action. No one on this team wastes their precious time putting their attention on what's wrong with the world. We might give it, just a little glance or a little mention to it, because we know, as the great teacher Maharishi Mahesh Yogi once said, that which we put our attention on grows in our lives. So if we put our attention on what's wrong and constantly talk about what's wrong on the planet, we're putting fuel on that fire. And there are a lot of fires on this planet right now, both literally and figuratively. But the members of this team, well, we don't waste time sitting around, wasting our precious breath, talking about how the world is, going to hell in a handbasket. No, the conversation is about, what can I do? How can I serve? How can we contribute to a world that works for everyone? And then offering powerful knowledge and programs and ways to awaken each person's own individual consciousness. And as more and more people become awake, one day there will be enough awake people that there will be a state change on the planet, like when water starts to boil. A moment will happen when all of humanity spontaneously wakes up and recognizes that we are one, that we are a one world family, that we are, as Neale says, and Susan says too, all just separate fingers on one hand, the hand of God. And I wrote this down what Steve said this morning, that in Power versus Force, people, if there are just one person who's vibrating at a high vibration of a 700, it offsets 70 million who are vibrating at a lower vibration. Let's be the one who is vibrating at a 700, and we can do it. And speaking of Neale, even in his Conversations with God books, God through Neale makes it clear that if we want to create a world where we come together as one, a world that is bathed in light and love, a world that works for everyone, to change humanity's future, we have to take action. We can't just wish it. And that's why we're here today, because we have it on good or God authority that the time to take action is now, not tomorrow or my least favorite day someday. Now is the time we need to act, and Steve and Neale are laying out the steps that we can take. Global oneness is not a pipe dream. Science is even on our side. Albert Einstein said many years ago that everything in creation is made up of energy, waves of energy. He said everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, it's physics. And Nobel laureate physicist Eugene Wigner further clarified that our consciousness is at its basis made up of the same fundamental energy, and our consciousness and our thoughts can affect matter. So when our consciousness vibrates with peace, when our intention is peace and love and coherence, it affects matter. Or if we act with joy and excitement about new ideas, which humanity's team has plenty of, it creates ripples of high vibration throughout the underlying unbounded field of consciousness. And these ripples influence the entire field, the entire world, and the consciousness of others. Humanity's team provides us with wisdom from dozens of the world's greatest transformational teachers that not only spark in us the desire to adopt different behaviors that raise our consciousness, behaviors like gratitude and intentioning for others, like we learned from the programs by Lynn McTaggart in Humanity's Stream, intention for what we want for others, and we're uplifted and our lives change. And behaviors like meditating and using our breath and chanting and dancing and singing and drumming and doing yoga and praying. And all of those programs are available on Humanity's Stream and being voices for conscious living. And as fantastic as it may seem, cutting edge research published in highly reputable peer-reviewed journals has repeatedly shown that when a sufficiently large group of people come together, like today, or during Global Oneness Day, 2 days, 3 days, or Humanity's Team's master classes when we meet together live, and when that sufficiently large group of people has a collective experience of positivity or of peace or of high vibration excitement, it produces a measurable shift in the collective consciousness of the world. There have been documented studies here in the US, actually based on FBI crime statistics and other internationally respected measures, that during times when groups of people are gathered for good, significant reductions in crime have been measured, as well as reductions in violence, in wars, even in accidents and hospitalizations. All of this has taken place and it's measurable. And what's also been measurable is increases in peace and wellness and mental and physical well-being in large numbers of people, even increases in the stock market and the GNP. There is literally nothing that coming together doesn't influence in a positive manner. This phenomenon is actually the most thoroughly documented social science phenomenon in history. And how reliable is the data? The probability of finding these results by chance is less than 5%, which brings us back to here and now. Personally, I am so grateful for even having the opportunity to be a part of a team with such a wide-reaching potential for good. Being part of humanity's team, it's a gift. It's a gift you can give yourself. It's a chance to get good karma by contributing to the upliftment of the world. So I invite you to take advantage of this opportunity to join us, support humanity's team, and help our efforts to create a new world, a better future for all humanity. As Steve often says, we are all just one decision away from changing humanity's future. And as Neale heard the question many years ago from God, who will be on humanity's team? And we hope that the answer is all of you. We're in this together. And as Steve said, this is not the Titanic. We are not going down. We are lifting up humanity. So be a part of our initiative. Donate if you can. Join Steve and Neale's masterclass, The Art and Science of Living Consciously. Let's change humanity's future together. We can do it. And all of the people from all over the world just makes it so very clear. So thanks for being here today. I know we've created a ripple on the planet, and welcome to humanity's team.
All right, Debra. Oh, that was gorgeous. Yeah, not someday, today. Okay, Debra, thank you. That was really beautiful. Thank you so much. And then another beautiful and powerful woman here, SIMRAN. Boy, this is Divine Feminine Day here too, isn't it? So here we go. SIMRAN, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's such a pleasure and an honor, and to feel the energy rising and the voices and the tones. We really are light, sound, and color wrapped up in a skin sack that is waiting to just explode effervescently with all of our beautiful humanity, really engaging parts of ourselves that open us to compassion, to kindness, gentleness, opening our hearts and our minds to all of the rest of us that lives on this planet, as this planet. I've always seen signs and symbols. I love that Suzanne brought that up. That's the basis of my work. And when I look at the world, there's so many signs and symbols that are speaking to us right now. And conscious living is such a powerful concept, especially at this time, especially for each and every one of us. But we also have unconscious living. We can see that very prominently in our world. And the way that I equate that is we are all on this world stage. We are all singing our soul songs in this moment. We are all becoming fine-tuned in a way that we raise ourselves and rise up. And to have conscious living means to have a practice. It means to have a consistent place and space to tap into so that we can connect back into that conscious living when we fall unconscious. in our living. And we all will do that at certain times. I think that's one thing that's so powerful about Humanities Team streaming service. It's an opportunity to tap in and connect to. So you stay in touch with the moments of conscious living so that they become more and more and more. We are seeing a lot in the world right now. And so often we want to turn away from what we're seeing in the world. We're wanting to turn away from people that we see that are perhaps in discordance or dis-ease or disharmony. We want to just be the parts of ourselves that are high and the vibrations or what we pretend or make up that means. And yet humanity is the full spectrum of light, sound, and color. So how do we balance that out from unconscious living to conscious living and embrace the whole from neutrality? Really embrace all of our humanity so that we can embrace all of humanity and then give ourselves to it. I like to think of us as tuning forks, that we are these two-pronged tuning forks. And on one side of us is our unconscious self. It is our subconscious nature. It is all that we've been carrying and holding that we may not even be aware of. And the beauty of the world is it's reflecting that back to us. It's helping us to see the parts of ourselves that we haven't yet been able to see. And on this other side of the tuning fork is that part of us that's out there wanting to do good, wanting to have the identities to build special and wonderful things that serve the rest of humanity. And it's up to us to really attune our tuning forks to this greater oneness and experience that we all are as part of this God body. So how do I view unconscious living? Well, when you've been to a concert and you see an entire orchestra that is on stage before the concert begins, what you will typically see and hear is all of the instruments playing, and you hear this vacuous noise of lots of different kinds of instruments fine-tuning themselves to get ready for the performance. And sometimes that vacuous noise that we hear of all those instruments playing in their discordance and in their harmony, sometimes that makes us go, I don't want to hear that, but yet something draws us to it. And I believe that you were called here today. I think that Humanities Team is calling you, but something called you to be here today. And it's that fine tuning that's wanting to happen. Our tuning fork is wanting to become more attuned because we have a great orchestra, a great harmony, a great collective song that we're all here to sing, that we're all here to harmonize within. And that requires that practice of conscious living. You see, I, you, we, and they are not on a journey. We are that journey. We are each experiencing itself. We are here to understand, experience, and express the full gamut of our humanity and the rising of these energies and these frequencies to that 300, to that 700, to that 1,000 frequency that is in love, of love, with love, and as love in every moment. That is what we are here to be. We are here to be the full expression of light, sound, and color as humanity. And the way that you will do that is to raise the frequency of your mental body by taking in the beautiful information of the master classes, of the information, of all that's on the streaming service, of getting in touch with the many teachers and the many individuals that help to feed you that information and allow you to harmonize with what resonates with you. But it doesn't stop there, because then you become that model of humanity that walks out in the world. And that ripples out into your families. It ripples out into your communities. It ripples out where each one of us really are that change. We are the moment that we have been waiting for. We are the moment we have been waiting for, because we are the individuals that are here to become aware of the full universe that is within us. We are the sign. You are the sign. You are the symbol for those in your area. And as you exemplify the highest of your humanity, the greatest of your compassion, the ability to be gentle, to pause, to still, to open your heart, to open and extend your hands, that is how our humanity then impacts the greater humanity. But in order to do that, we have to lock arms with others. that are also doing that work of humanity so that collective humanity can also rise. And that's part of what Humanities Team does through all that it serves, through the masterclass that Neale and Steve are going to be doing, through the ways that you can dive into and experience and express your own humanity through the streaming service by embodying and raising your vibration and frequency. Right now, you have an opportunity to unconditionally gift. That is a way to raise the frequency. When we unconditionally gift something with no expectation of return, we not only heighten our own frequency, we heighten the frequency around us that is existing, and that in turn raises the planet. Right now, you are the invitation to a greater experience and expression of you. And that then extends an invitation to the world to rise up to meet you exactly where you are. You are the communication and connection. By the way you allow your heart to connect with what will bring you to higher resonance, so that your tuning fork not only harmonizes to the highest frequency that you have, but then brings together that fractal of people that will harmonize with you as you carry this message of Humanities Team out into the world alongside of us. You are the focus and vision. There's nothing greater than people coming together, holding the same focus and vision for a new idea, for an enlightened awareness to then manifest on the physical plane. Everything is consciousness. And Humanities Team creates a beautiful set of guidelines to follow through that. Their framework, their courses, their teachers, simply their visionary ideas, allows you to tap into the truth of what you are, not who you are, what you are. And we are all God's walking. It's time for us to unite and create that larger body of God that we all are, by extending the frequency, the voices, the hearts, the sounds, the colors, and the imaginings that highest expression would now walk, talk, speak, feel, experience, and express on this planet. I invite you to join Humanities Team. I invite you to be a part of this initiative, to make Humanities Team and our connection and the work that they are trying to do pervasive into the year 2040. Before we can get there, imagine it can happen in an instant. So as you're stepping into this community and you're starting to engage in the programs and the streaming service and all that they offer, don't do it alone. Bring together your friends, your colleagues. This is about helping everyone to rise to a higher frequency. And we all can do it when we come together, for we are all the cells in the body of God. Thank you so much for letting me be here to unite and connect with you, heart to heart, soul to soul, one to one. For my humanity is your humanity. My love is your love. And what I want you to experience is that you are in love all of the time. We are just a field of love. You are composed of love, the atomic, beautiful cellular structure of love, that 1,000-point frequency. We are here to walk with love in each and every breath and every step. And we are here to be the experience as love. So come together with us and let's do this as we become Humanities Team. I hope you'll donate today, and I hope you'll join the service, and definitely tune into the masterclass. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this.
Oh, and SIMRAN, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, so many important and beautiful messages there. Yes, fingers on the hand of God, sons and daughters of the Most High, right? Of God, of universe. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And now Jacqueline Way, another beautiful leader in this whole transformational field, is going to come on camera. Here's Jacqueline Way. Jacqueline, thank you so much for joining us today. And we're getting you off mute here, I think now. Oh, and I think we still have you muted, but
There we go. We've got it. We're
No, we
playing
got it. Okay.
we're playing unmute tag between me and the back end team. So it's perfect. Thank you so much for having me today, everyone. I want to talk about a Galileo moment. This is it for me. I want to first of all welcome everybody to my home, and thank you for being here at home with all of us here at Humanities Team. Before I joined Humanities Team, which was, I think I'm the newbie here, one of the newbies here on the block, without a doubt. But, when I came and I joined Humanities Team, I knew I found my home. And I saw this in our messages today where everyone said, I just found my family. I just found the team. I found where I belong. And I think we all feel like this, that we've all come home because we're now with people that we're speaking the same language. We all have different words. We have different experiences and stories, but we're all saying the same thing, which is we're all coming home to ourselves, which in turn brings us all together. I wanted to share a story with you today. So I think a number of you will resonate with this and maybe how you found your way to right here today. Because I think we all have our stories that if we look back at our lives, we can say this moment in time and this moment in time and this moment in time brought me right here with Humanities Team, all sharing this space today. And I think that's the magic. And what Suzanne said earlier today, it's the web in our life that we can follow the beautiful little dots, just like on a spider's web, when you see it all lit up from the sun, and you can follow those dots. So you go, this is why I'm here right now. I read Neale's book, A Conversation with God, literally when it came out 25 years ago. And that book, whether I knew it at the time or not, put me on my life path. It literally guided me moment by moment to whether it was more books, more education, more reading, so that today I'm standing here with all of you. If you had said to me when I was 25 years old that I'd be here with Neale Donald Walsch and Steve Farrell and all of these amazing leaders, I would have laughed. I would have said, not me. This isn't my path. I didn't even know that was possible at this time. But what I realized is as I began to listen to my own whispers, Suzanne talked about this earlier, when you begin to listen to what feels right, when you begin to see the signs, when you begin to follow them all the way along your own journey, you get to start to choose and create what you want your life to look like. And I did that every step of the way. And I've come to realize that every step I chose was me coming home. And it was me coming home to love. People laugh about that with me because today I have a charitable organization called 365 Give. And I want to tell you about this story because it's really what finally awakened me to my own awareness and my own consciousness because it became a practice. I'm very blessed that I am a mother of 3 gorgeous adopted little boys. Steve and I share this commonality in our own lives. And I will never forget the day that I brought my first son home. He was just 11 weeks old. He had been in foster care. We got chosen. And if you want to hear a whisper or a calling from God or the universe, you pick up the phone and you hear, you're going to be a mother. And that's your calling right there. And I remember the day I met this little boy. When you adopt, it's sight unseen. You don't get to choose what you're going to get. You don't even know if they have all their fingers and toes. You don't know what culture they're going to be. You don't know what religion their parents practice, but you go with faith in your heart that you're exactly where you're supposed to be in that moment of time. And when I held that little boy in my arms, I already knew him. I was already connected to him. I knew who he was. And I just said to him, I've been waiting. Welcome home. And I will love you forever. And it was in that moment in time that I realized we weren't separated. How could I love so unconditionally this little child that was in my arms I had never met? He didn't grow inside me. I didn't give birth to him, but I innately knew I would love this child unconditionally forever. And it happened to me again and again and again throughout my family. And it was my reminder each time with my children that I had the capacity to love unconditionally. I had the capacity to know I was connected to more than just what I saw around me. And my children were really the gift that showed me this path every day. When my first son was just 3 years old, I knew as a parent intuitively that if I could do anything in this world to change the world, to make the world a better place, it was going to be to grow a kind, compassionate, loving little person, to add that to the world, to grow something that would be good for our world, would be good for him, and it would help cultivate who he was going to be later in his life. So when he was just 3 years old, I started a little mission with him. And we did one thing to give back to the world every day for 365 days. We did literally what became our giving practice, with a simple hope that as we shared our stories with other people, they too would go out into the world and do something small to give. Well, I quickly realized that, giving actually is love in action. When we give unconditionally, and Simran, you were just talking about this, when we give with no expectation of anything in return, well, that's love. It's really that simple. And so what I came to realize years later and today is that my practice with my 3-year-old son, that became a practice that became possible for everyone. When you give with a 3-year-old, it has to be so simple and so easy. It became my own love practice. And I came to realize that giving was love in action, that I was actually standing in the truth of who I was. I became connected to who I was because of how I was taking action in the world. I cultivated that. I finally came to realize that the words in Neale's book, In a Conversation with God, that was who I was becoming. I had followed this path through my whole life. Every time something felt right and good, and I felt the intuition, I put in the chat earlier today, the goosebump moments. And I listened intently to where I was supposed to go. And that started with my children and my adoptions and our 365 Give journey to put love out into the world every day. That changed everything for us. And it changed most of all everything for me, because it was those practices that all of these amazing leaders have been talking about today. It was me putting love into practice, and that connected me to my own awareness. It made me feel like pure love and pure joy, and knowing I could put that out into the world every single day with the thoughts that I think, with the words that I say, and the action that I take. And all of a sudden, it all came together in one moment. And I went, that's it. That's what they all talk about. The Mother Teresas, all of the other spiritual leaders. And it was almost in a moment that the light bulb went off. And I went, that's how I show up as the truest, highest version of who I am. And Neale talks about this all of the time. That was me being love in this body, in this form, out to the world every day. Now I've embodied it. Now I know how it's done. Now I know how it feels. And most of all, that feeling of love that comes from here, that comes out, that's me knowing who I am. That's me being home. That's me being home with all of you here today. And that's what we can all do. We can easily understand through what we think and what we say and the actions that we take. The holiday season is here. When we give unconditionally out to the world, that's us being our true nature, our true selves. And here's the magic in all of it. And I want to go back to the science for a minute, because we've been talking about that today, all of us. At 365 Give, we call this your daily dose of happiness. Really, it's your daily dose of love. But this gorgeous chemical reaction happens in our body. It's what we know is the common thread that is similar between every single human being. And my friend, Dr. Rowshanak, who's going to come up in a minute, she always explains this better than me. So I'm going to give you the layman's terms in this. But dose stands for, that daily dose of happiness stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and your endorphins. These are all the hormones and chemicals in our body that literally start lighting up so that we feel good, we feel happy, we feel love. It's like a reward. Well, how is that even possible? How is it that every human being is literally wired to feel love, feel good, feel better when they give, when we're putting love into action? Isn't that really our calling? Isn't that way for us all to feel better, to stand in our well-being, to be healthier, to be happier? Because when we're that affects everybody around us. It affects our families. It affects our friends. It affects everybody that we're here with today. And now we're all coming together to change the world, because I'm putting love into action out into the world. And I encourage all of you to do that. When you wake up in the morning, say that simple ritual. I do it every day. I share this all of the time, before your head even leaves the pillow. If love was a person, what would love think? What would love say? And how would love act? Make that intention for yourself every day before you even get up. Take that out into the world, because that's the frequency we all get to change. That's now the frequency of love out in the world. And it's easy for us to come together now. It's easy for us to find each other. It's easy for us to connect. And it's easy for us all to change the world right where we are. We all share this planet, but my world is right where I am, and your world is right where you are. It's the lens in which we view the world. I encourage you to view the world through the lens of love, because it will change you first, and then it changes everything around you, and it all lights up, and it's beautiful. I promise. So today, take those actionable pieces, take action today. Don't just say, I am love. Take action, be love out in the world, and that's how things will change. Sign up for the masterclass. Do what you can do today. Do what I did. Learn from the masters. We got them all here today. Go read their books, do the steps that they tell you, do all of the things until you know you are actually love and you understand it. It takes time. It takes practice. Every moment of every day, we have to practice that. So learn from these masters that are here today and do that. Donate. That's giving. If you have $5, give. That's all it is. If all of us give $5, Humanity's Team goes. This is a not-for-profit organization. Nobody's making money from this. We're not trying to, hoard and do what all the big corps do. It's a not-for-profit organization trying to bring everybody together to make the world a better place for us all. Just give what you can. And most of all, join us. We can't do this alone. There's no one person that can do this alone. We can only do this together. Namaste. I see the light in you because I know my own light. And when I say I love you, I can say I love you easily because I know I'm love. Thank you, Steve, for having me. And thank you, everyone, for standing with us today. Steve, we can't hear you. You and I, we've got it.
Get myself off of mute here. Yeah. And talking about a face of love. So yes, and we're all faces of love. Jacqueline, you are really an extraordinary face of love. And
Thank you.
yes, we're all daughters and sons of the Most High. We were sent here right now to be here right now during this great shift of the ages. And so everything that you shared is so just spot on. Yes. Let's experience that.
There you go. And there's my partner, Dr. Rowshanak.
And isn't it perfect that Dr. Rowshanak she's
perfect.
coming in from France live today to be here with us. And yes, Dr. Rowshanak, thank you so much for being here. And these two are soul partners, probably have been traveling together
through time.
Okay.
We know.
Yeah.
Soul sisters,
Beautiful.
they call us.
We've become quite interchangeable at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Rowshanak. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you, Steve, for being a founder of Humanity's Team and bringing this beautiful team together with Neale and his dream that shows very beautifully how we need each other. So Neale had the dream, right? And then there you are to complete it together, hand in hand, right? So we're talking about this oneness, and we're talking about giving, and we're talking about love and Humanity's Team. So I have some questions. I'm a scientist. And my question is this. Does anybody here believe that they can exist in a vacuum? That they do exist in a vacuum? Anyone? No? Okay. Second question. Did anybody here get here by themselves? From the time that you were born, were you able to feed yourself, clothe yourself, love yourself, shelter yourself? No? Okay. Third question. There's something that the indigenous people call seventh generation. So whatever they do is to pay attention to the ripple effect that it has out to the seventh generation. What are you doing right now? And what is it causing as a ripple effect 7 generations forward? What are you contributing to that 7th generation? Okay. Why these questions? Because I think they make it abundantly clear what it means practically, this concept of oneness, of being on the same team. That we are born, unlike sharks, ready as soon as they come out of their mother's stomach, teeth ready to go. They can hunt, they can eat, and they're done. They're like, bye, mom. Not us. We need each other. We define ourselves by each other. We require love for proper brain development from the time that we're born. We require love. It's not food, water, shelter, air. It's food, water, shelter, air, and love. It is important for us to thrive as human beings. And that's the medical term for a baby surviving. We require love to survive, to thrive, from the moment we're born until the end of our time in this incarnated form. You see, this idea that we don't and can't live in a vacuum, this idea that we are here because someone else took care of us. We are interdependent, and that's beautiful. It's natural. These prevailing narratives of extreme independence, they're not natural, they're not true, they're constructs, and they are a disservice to the truth, to the nature of our being that requires us to have each other for love, for the expansion of love, for meaning in life. Because if you had everything and you're in a vacuum, what would it mean to you? So yes, it can be beautiful and amazing to talk about oneness, but if we don't recognize the truth of it, if we don't connect to the anchor of its meaning in our everyday life, then how are we going to benefit from the gift that we've been given of interdependence? You see, as has been mentioned before, we are a human body. Although somebody said, it's just this body. No. We are a human body. There is self-similarity in all of nature. And when one part of the body is injured, the rest of the body is affected and has to compensate somehow. So when we talk about oneness, you caring about other people is you caring about yourself. You caring about what happens in another land, to another person, of another color, of another belief, of another perspective, is you being open to the truth of life and all diversity that is creation, without which that vacuum would mean we have no meaning. So when we talk about humanity's team, what we're talking about, as Jacqueline said, is home. Home is each other. Home is us together. And humanity's team, they offer that to us. So it's not just now we know, but we're still searching. Now we have found. You've found your home here on humanity's team. Make yourself comfortable. Check out the different master classes like the art and science of living consciously. Check out the beautiful, extensive library of just about anything you could wish for under the sun in humanity's stream. Spend your time fruitfully. Be here now. Be present to your own beauty with your home team, humanity's team. Be a part actively of your own life and your true love and all your family and friends here. Donate your time, your wealth in every different way, your resources that you have, because you're only donating to the nurturing of the soil that allows all of us to flourish together. Namaste.
And namaste to you, Dr. Rowshanak. Thank you so much for coming in and from over in France, where she's traveling right now. Thank you for making this special time. And boy, what we could feel your heart open with these beautiful messages, these calls to action. Thank you, Dr. Rowshanak. Really stunning. And we're bringing in, so we've got a couple of us token males here. Ross Hostetter, boy, you're going to be glad to hear from Ross. Ross is an amazing leader in this whole transformational space. Welcome, Ross.
Thank you, Steve. A few days back, I was having lunch with Steve and chatting about this call, and he had a suggestion for me, which was, why don't you start by saying why you're here? And I'm going to start that way. I'm here for the work. What is the work? Well, it's what everyone on this call has been talking about. And this work makes big promises to people who engage in it. The first promise that it makes is that it's going to create in you a clean heart and change the heart that you have right now, which for many of us is in serious danger of being hardened and ossified, and create a heart as clean and as clear as the day you were born. It promises to create a clear mind, a mind that is freed of its confusion and its old stories, a mind that can see the field around you, that is present and alert and alive. It promises a new identity, an identity that is freed from the prison of a separate sense of self. Can you imagine that? Freed from the prison of your separate sense of self, and embraces an entirely new and much bigger identity. It promises a work that you can do in the world, a path of service in the world, just like our Rowshanak was talking about. It's always going to be an actionable form of love that is going to be given to you, presented to you, and will use everything you've got. All the flaws you have, all the mistakes you've made, all the experiences that you have, all of these things are the things that make you both available and qualified for the work that is going to be presented. So this work of ours, this collective work of ours, is a big deal, and that's why I'm here. To talk a little bit about how I'm now here on a call with Humanities Team. I didn't come into Humanities Team through a class or a seminar or an engagement on the web or something. I came to Humanities Team through friendship, and specifically a friendship with Steve. We became friends before I got involved in any kind of a formal role with Humanities Team. And in him, I found a soul friend, an Anam Kara. And I want to thank you, Steve, for being my friend. And I'm doing my best to share that. And that is a beautiful pathway in to the work. And just to everyone on the call here, the speakers that we have and the courses that we put out and all of that, they come from real people, real people that have devoted their lives to becoming soul friends to other people. That's their work. And it's beautiful to be in a field of connection like we're having on this call. And I can feel it. I can feel the soul friendship penetrating on this call, but that's how I started. I started with friendship. And there came a time, a few months back where Steve said, well, hey, why don't you come in and maybe do a little bit more of a formal role and help out and things like that. And a lot of people don't know me, but I've done a lifetime of work in helping organizations and people solve conflicts. My personal light is probably not all that bright. So I need a lot of darkness for it to shine. So to go into dark places is what I've been doing for the last 40 years, places where people are in conflict, where organizations are all locked up, where egos are dominating, where people are suing each other, where they're doing terrible things to one another, and to see if we can get it unbound and unlocked and changed somehow. So I come into Humanity's Team with that mindset and saying, well, where's the friction? And there is none. There is none. We've got, this team of 45 people that is producing all of this stuff in harmony. And you're looking for the sharp elbows and the egos and the people that are burnt out with their work and problems. And there are no problems like that in Humanity's Team to be solved. And that's remarkable, certainly remarkable in my experience. I've never run into it before. And so you come in and you take a look around for a month or so and you say, wow, I'm here with the angel band, the angel symphony. So what do we do now? There's no frictions to solve, and there's no, anything like that. There's no gears that are all locked up and meshing. So the answer is, let's rock. Let's take this possibility and really begin to do something with it. And it's been a delight to work with this team, because it is a group of people that have their feet in the mud, their shoulder to the wheel, and their head in the boundless sky. All of them do. And in the feet in the mud part, nobody's here under any kind of a Pollyannish illusion about what we're up against. We know what we're up against. The shoulder to the wheel part is people just doing stuff and getting stuff done. And things that would be a grind in other organizations seem to be very fluid in this organization, and doing hard things, writing copy and writing codes, and it takes 20 people to come together to do something like this. And it all happens, and it's happening at entrepreneurial pace, and it's happening with a lot of deadlines in a frictionless way. So there's an instrument here that is a beautiful thing, and it's bound together by that vision of what could happen, by a vision of the work and wanting to support the work in the world. So it's, as an entity, as a person, as a corporate person, it's got its head on straight. It is ready to do the work, and its heart is right. And my perception is that God, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it, is saying, okay, great, more please. Okay, let's get after it. And the organization as a group has been given a prime directive from the universe, and it's following the prime directive of the universe, which could be said in one word, which is grow. Grow. It's an organization that wants to grow. So I'm going to share my screen just quickly, and I hope that this is going to work. And I'm going to talk for just a second about the growth impulse of this organization. We're calling this our Galileo moment. So we put together a beautiful brochure, and I hope someone puts a link to that brochure to explain what Humanity's Team is, what the mission is, who we are, what we do. And I'm going to take a few slides from that and share it with you today to talk a little bit about the initiative and the power of this. So this is one of the pages from the brochure that we put together, and it's got some stats. I'm going to run through them real quick. You know, this is an organization with 654,000 followers on Facebook, with 20,000 plus subscribers on YouTube. It's got 900 programs on Vimeo, 363,026 downloads for podcasts to date. 1 million people on a mailing list, 1 million people on a mailing list that's going to grow to 2 million in 2024. And it does things like in just the first 10 months of 2023, there's been 963,070 people that have interacted with the website. This is a hard thing to do for a nonprofit, where people are coming in and sharing their hearts and doing their work. But this is an organization that gets things done. One of the great things that it's done is Humanity's Stream, and Steve will talk more about that. But just this year alone, there's been 55 new training programs, video programs put on it. And as many of the speakers have said, it's a library of consciousness that is out there that can start with anywhere you want to start. And it is a place to find your friend. It's a place to find your soul friend in digital form. It's had amazing growth over the last couple of years. It's increased 7-fold from 457 people to 3,125 today that are growing on it. As we talked about the Global Oneness Summit, there's 200,000 people that come onto that summit every year with 100 plus teachers. That's all offered for free. We have something that is near and dear to my heart, which is the country coordinator 65 in every continent of the world except Antarctica. And these are points of light that need nourishment, that need funding, that need growth, that need to be given the resources where they can create influence within their spheres and in the way that they want to do it. It's just a global map that I'm showing you here. The reach is global of all programs. The little map there of the United States, that's 15 minutes of one program interaction, the New Conscious Business Program. And the one on top is the reach of the website interactions around the world. So it's reaching people all over the world. And why are people coming? Well, they're coming because of the people on this call, and some of them are here, and the teachers that are featured. I won't talk about all of them, but I want to just do a little shout out for this. These programs that we do, the master classes that are 8 a year that are put into every major language of the world. And then a shout out to these people, the communications team, the video and broadcasting team, the technology team. And just to say one thing about that, this technology team does things that would take hundreds of staff to do. They're doing things that rival Netflix and Hulu and are able to put things together in remarkable ways. And then our support team, and this is even me right here in a younger form, and Steve. This is the growth of our things. And this year, we're asking for help. We are asking for donations to grow some things. Four primary growth areas that we want to do. Number one is to raise awareness around the world and to get people into the work. That's the number one priority. The means by which we're going to do that is we're going to improve our streaming platform, and we're going to create a whole bunch of content. We're going to provide resources for consciousness raising programs, and especially those 65 country coordinators, and maybe begin to go out and do in-person events and live things where we aren't just mediating everything through a screen, but where people can meet people and hold their hands and look into their eyes and to make changes one-on-one. And then there's a project that I want to launch and be involved in to begin to think bigger and to raise $100 million consciousness fund and endowment for the organization. The question is, when is the best time to plant a tree? All right. Well, maybe it's 20 years ago, but the best time to plant it is now, so that we can begin to think and operate as a real consciousness university using all the strengths that we have. So this is a little chart of how things are going to be spent if you contribute your money in awareness building, the streaming platforms, the digital architecture. And I'll just tell you where we are. All right. So these are the realities. We set a $3 million goal. We are about 25% of the way there. Okay. But there's been 739,000 already raised that has allowed the entity to staff up and begin to do all the things that I just talked about. And there's also a matching grant out that has a 393,000 and change that is available that we would like not to have go away. So we would like to see if we can raise this $390,000 to complete this matching grant and put the organization on even firmer footing. So I will just end with that, and that we are all points of light here. So I'm going to stop my screen and conclude just by saying this. So how is this going to work? One way that you can think about this is what the theory of change is. Okay, what the theory of change is. As many of our speakers have talked about, it starts with a call. It starts with some life event, like Suzanne talked about, loss, of a child. It can happen that way. It can happen for a drunk, that hits bottom. It can happen when you see a tragedy that breaks your heart open and says, I can do something about that. It can start with a near-death experience. For me, I had a kind of an easy path in where I had a near-death experience, and then a few days later, I had a big opening to the field, a big mystical experience that just arrived out of the blue when I was 21 years old. Didn't know anything about any of this or anything about it. But when that call happens, there's an invitation from the universe that says, let's get into the work. Let's get into the work. When that invitation happens, that soul needs resources. Just like any living thing, that soul needs resources. There's a little tiny flame, and it needs that little oxygen in the base of the flame for it to grow. It needs to find friends. It needs to find soul friends. It needs to that soul needs teachers. It needs resources. It needs better concepts. It needs ways to navigate this crazy world that we're living in. It needs encouragement. It needs better thoughts. It needs practices. And that is what Humanities Team provides. We call all that stuff put together education. Okay. But that soul needs the resources and the education. So the goal of the organization is, we're not here to, as it said before, to make a bunch of money or do anything like that. It's to provide the resources for the souls of the world. And we are convinced that when we get enough, this world's going to change over. It's going to change over, and everyone is going to want to be like you. Like, and have the mind that you have, and the joy that you have, and the mission that you have. And we will create the world that we want to see. So with that, Steve, I will close. My wife, Mary, wanted me, said, Ross, on this call, you've got to tell them something. Okay, so she wrote out a phrase. I'm going to write this, give this to you. Say, we see a beautiful future for humanity if more resources are given to each person ready to believe in a better story. And we invite you to join us in creating it. All right.
Beautiful.
That's it, Steve.
That's
thanks so
just like Mary to enter something like that in here at the end, Ross. And thank you, Val, for the heartfelt message that actually covered so much ground there. So thank you. That was quite a journey you took us on. And that PDF into the impact report there that Ross reviewed. We've put a link in the window in the chat, so you might want to grab that so you can go through that. We'll be sending out a link to it, an email as well. Ross, thank you, brother.
Thank you, Steve.
Really heartfelt, powerful, heartfelt message. Thank you. And now we just have a few short testimonies from our country coordinators. So, and also actually a leader that is a veteran that's part of Humanities Team. So we're going to go to some very short video testimonies. The whole thing is about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to come back to do a quick wrap up here. So we're coming to the end and going now right into these video testimonies. Here we go.
So my relationship with HT actually started with a combat tour to Iraq. I was sitting in Iraq, and I was sitting in a day room in a secured forward operating base and outside of Baghdad. And that's when I ran across Conversations with God, Neale Donald Walsch's first book, book 1. And I asked everybody whose it was, and nobody claimed it. And I started reading it. And I'll be honest with you, sitting in a war-torn country being shot at, I just could not wrap my head around what it was telling me, but I knew there was something in there I needed to know. And I kind of put that to the wayside for a while. And then I came home and things got really dark. And I relapsed from alcoholism. I'd been sober for 11 years. And I just wanted to die. So I attempted that. And after my suicide attempt, all these veterans wrapped themselves around me. I got healthy real quick. And that's when I remembered this message of oneness. I felt like I was a warmonger. I'm one of these that suffer from moral injury, things I've done and seen in combat that I cannot wrap my head around. And that's when I found HT. I found a lecture from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who mentioned Neale Donald Walsch, and that sparked that remembrance. And that's when I really got into Neale's first couple of books. And then the next thing you know, that led me to a website, which led me to a job posting by Humanities Team. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting in Oklahoma on a video call with Nanette Kennedy and Dee Meyer, and that started so many things in my life. I mean, I think I said it before. I felt like a warmonger at first, and these people in HT nursed me back to health, and I can't be more grateful for that. I've been thinking of ways for years to integrate HT into the veteran community, and sure enough, Tim No reached out to me not too long ago and said we'd like to offer gift subscriptions to any veteran for Humanities Stream that would take it. And at first I didn't think I'd get any takers on that, but it really warmed my heart when I had several veterans take these gift subscriptions. So I can't speak enough about Humanities Team. I'll always be a member. We all talk often, and yeah, thank you, Humanities Team. Thank you, Steve, Dee, Nanette, Garth, Carrie Beach, all these people that just kind of rocked me back to health and made me realize what this is all about, the gift of oneness. So thank you.
I'm Christine Glenn, and I've been with Humanities Team since 2015. I'm part of Humanities Team Canada, and I coordinate the world regions. For me, it's the best organization that I've ever been involved with. It's so supportive and open-hearted, and I just, every day when I say my gratitude prayers, I say I'm grateful for Humanities Team. And yeah, and it's amazing how in the 7 years that I've been coordinating the world regions, when we first started, we just had a handful of countries, and now we're up to 62 countries. So when we let nature run her show, she knows exactly where to position people to flower unity consciousness, because that's what we're doing. We are all one, and I am grateful, and I love you all. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Said Hidalgo. I've been with Humanities Team for 3 years. I'm the country coordinator of Peru. Humanities Team has been really important in my own spiritual awakening because I was confused, and sometimes the mind doesn't understand what the soul is trying to do. So it was very important for me to understand my own process and to have people that speak the same language. And at the same time, I was called to impact the lives of other people. And it was very important to me to have an organization behind me because it gave me the sense of security and support to go in front of many people. And since then, I've been able to touch thousands of lives. And that's something that I really, really am thankful to Humanities Team for, because it was like having like a coach saying, you can do this, you are called to do this. And that's how I consider Humanities Team, like my spiritual coach. So I'm thankful for that.
Let's see, all of these leaders and speakers that came into today's program. Wow, truly, truly beautiful. Okay, so viewers, we're near the end here, and I just want to share a few things. One is what has been mentioned, Humanities Team is a 501c3 nonprofit. So in fact, all of those country coordinators, just to give you an example, those 65 now country coordinators, none of them have a salary. We don't even reimburse expenses. Okay, just to give you a sense of this is a nonprofit organization. We're here because we have incredible passion. It's not a career, it's a calling. We were, just as you were called to be on this program, we were called to come into Humanities Team to form it 20 years ago and to do this work of elevating consciousness. So we understand ultimate reality, right? That we're not separate at all, as Einstein said. And as Einstein said, that no problem can be solved at the level of consciousness that it's created. You can see that in programs like COP28 in Dubai. These are good people trying to do good work, but it's inside of today's level of consciousness. The way we get there, and we are well on our way right now, to this sustainable and flourishing planet is elevating consciousness, understanding we're all a part of this whole spiritual universe, this unity consciousness, this conscious presence that animates all of life, that we call the divine and Humanities Team, but our scientist friends call it universe and cosmos, and that works fine. Now, okay, here's the problem. Let me just bring it right square to center. The problem is that hardly anybody, just think about this as I'm sharing it, on the planet, 8 billion people, has any awareness whatsoever of this initiative called Changing Humanity's Future, where we're sharing, as you know, from all of these brilliant speakers, that we're actually living into this now, right? As you are. So there are many of us on this planet that are already on this journey. We're well on our way. As it says in the last Conversations with God book, the hardest part of the journey is behind us. And yet we haven't found one article in mainstream media that talks about the Changing Humanity's Future initiative that has the remedy that goes all the way upstream to the illusion of separation, and then that, bam, for us individually and for us collectively addresses all of the challenge. Because as we're all stating here in our own heart language, when we understand that we're sons and daughters of the Most High, sent here during this time of the great shift of the ages, and we live into that, we can't do anything harmful to the planet. We can't start wars. The Middle East war goes away. Ukraine war goes away. GMO kinds of products go away. Extreme weather goes away. Unsustainable use of land, air, etc. All of these go away. So there's very, very little public awareness right now. With limited support, financial support, Ross took you through some numbers there. We created this $3 million initiative to address this, okay? Raise public awareness. Let people know there's a remedy here now, that many of us are living into it, that we can and are creating beautiful homes, countries, and planets right now, planet here, Earth, by living consciously. We have raised about 740,000 so far. There's a good ways to go to get the 3 million that we're after. We still are matching 393,000, almost 400,000. So all donations today and during the holidays are matched dollar for dollar up to 400,000. So your gift of whatever it might be will be matched dollar for dollar. And it'll help us do two things. One, raise public awareness so this initiative can be out in the public. So mainstream media pays attention. It's already paying attention to the human extinction movement. Why would it not pay attention to its anecdote, to the remedy, the Changing Humanity's Future initiative? The other thing your donation contributes to is the streaming platform and the library and the people that are out in the countries that are doing this work, so we can further the number of subscribers, the number of Stream Plus subscriptions that are out in homes all over the planet. We'd like all 8 billion people to have access to these hundreds of video trainings and live programs on conscious living, to be part of this. It's really a community, even more than a technology or streaming platform. So that's what the $3 million initiative is aiming at. I want to share something else. Feel into this with me, because I know you're going to feel its truth. That this is such a pivotal moment right now on our planet. It's a huge pivotal moment. 5 years from now, if we were just having this conversation, trying to get started, trying to raise 3 million, I wouldn't be terribly hopeful. Today, in December 2023, I'm hopeful. So our action and inaction is what is so incredibly important now. Let it not be inaction. This is what a lot of these leaders have brought in here with me today. Let's be an expression of this oneness. Give, even if we only have 5 or 10 or 15 or 20, let's contribute to this initiative, donate, and maybe make it a part of your holiday giving plan if you have a family philanthropy plan. If this initiative and this work resonates, we're inviting you to financially contribute to this initiative and help us raise public awareness, help us accelerate this movement of conscious living out on the planet. Humanity's team, some have called it shovel ready. What they mean by that is, this isn't a concept that we're sitting here presenting to you, where we're saying we want to do this and create this team. This is a 20-year-old mature organization with mature leaders, with a streaming platform that's mature, with hundreds of video trainings and live programs now, with 65 country coordinators and growing. So mature organization. So every donation is going straight into, can be put to work next week and next month, not a year from now. It's not a concept. We can immediately put it to work. And there's a recycle feature where we start funding our own work as we are now. That those charts that Ross was taking you through, those subscriptions from the streaming platform are coming right back around and being funneled right back into this organization, its growth and scaling throughout the planet. So it's shovel ready. Your donations where you resonate with our work will be greatly appreciated. And I want to leave you with this thought. Everybody on the planet, all 8 billion people here, if they really believed that there was one thing that was a causal factor, a first domino, that could go and create fulfilling lives, delicious lives, as we like to call it in Humanity's team, where we're living consciously, because it's joyful work. We're loving presence, as these speakers are emphasizing. If the 8 billion people could understand this initiative, and it's 20 years old, and that it already has this streaming platform that delivers to all platforms around the world, and that's translating new masterclasses in 75 languages, and that's doing the one thing that Einstein talked about 75 years ago, that no problem can be solved at the level of consciousness that created it. That's elevating consciousness, bringing in the programs that are elevating consciousness. It's going at that, again, causal factor, that first domino. It's actually creating healing and health and well-being for individuals in the whole world. Wouldn't everybody donate to this cause? My daughter was just home from college just a few weeks ago for Thanksgiving. And she said, Dad, she's, of course, she's 19. She said, Dad, I'm worried about the future. What does the future hold for my generation? And I said, Sophie, I am too. That's why I get up every morning and do the work that I do, because the work that we're doing in Humanities Team with this Changing Humanities Future initiative, it's the thing that's creating a sustainable and flourishing earth for your generation and for all future generations that inhabit the earth. And I believe that every centimillionaire, every billionaire, every person of wealth, everyone would donate to this initiative if they understood what it was, and that the 20 years of mature, I'll call it execution, within the organization as we're now going about this effort to raise consciousness, to create this whole new way of living on the earth. And so I'm going to close with that and just invite you again to, in your daily practice, go within, see if you feel like you're being invited to become a member of the initiative, to donate to the initiative, to maybe contribute on a regular basis to the initiative. And please do this 3 degrees thing, where you know other people and organizations that are all about creating a better world, that are creating a sustainable and flourishing future. Tell them about this initiative. Send them this impact report. Send them a link to the Changing Humanities Future initiative. And we should do that as though our lives depend on it, because I believe they do. Okay, and with that, I want to thank you all again so much for being here. I know we're going to get there. I tell my family, I believe 100% we're well on our way, that the hardest part of the journey is behind us, that we are going to that destination, that we will make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040. And I know that because there's so many beautiful, powerful friends, the speakers that were here today, but all of you here too, that I know deeply resonate with this work. And so thank you. Thank you. And namaste, and love and peace and blessings to you all. And may you have the most beautiful holidays, friends. Love you all.